What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for August 31st, 2023. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. A couple quick housekeeping things before we get into today's episode. First, the new episode of Back to the Future will be recorded and dropped next week. It is the 2023 Eagles preview. I have a couple of special guests coming on, and it'll still be dropped in time for you guys, just in time to listen before the season. Tomorrow is September. I'm doing a big push in September to kind of increase the interaction. So I told you we're going to do the Who Wore It Best with the numbers in Philly sports history. So stay tuned for that, but be ready to interact. And I also am working on some ways to get more fan interaction. I still can't figure out the live thing and how to make it 100% work, so I might be playing around with some YouTube lives or some Twitter spaces or something like that, so stay tuned for that. We might do a couple random just test runs here or there, but I'll keep you updated on that. And then I'm also working on possibly getting like a hotline number where you can leave voicemails and kind of maybe we'll do a segment. So just working on some things, so stay tuned for that. But like I said, I'm excited for the Who Wore It Best starting tomorrow. It should be fun based on what we did with the Lovable Loser tournament. So again, stay tuned for that. And as always, thank you for your support. All right, Phillies update. Tough one. It's hard to be mad about that loss. And I think a lot of it is dependent upon your perspective, because had they been in the midst of a losing streak and they lost a game like that, we'd be furious. But they had won 5-6 games in a row. So the fact that they dropped that one, it sucks. Yeah, it's disappointing, especially on the day where Bryce hit his 300th home run and the way he hit it and the fact that it gave them the lead and you had Kimbrel coming in. But as they were saying on the broadcast, like Kruk and T-Mac were talking about how yesterday or the night before Kimbrel had warmed up, so he may have been tired. And Kruk brought up a good point in which I think everybody looks at what he does and what he says, like the funny stuff, but he really does bring a lot of good insight. And he said, I had a couple pitcher friends tell me sometimes that a tired arm doesn't necessarily mean you lose the velocity. It's more you lose your control. And it looked like that is what happened with Craig Kimbrel. I don't necessarily think it's a cause to be concerned about, but it's worth monitoring. But yeah, I mean, disappointing because of the way that Bryce put them ahead with his 300th home run. They still are up 3 games on the Cubs, 5 into that wild card spot. They have off today, and then pretty much a nice little road trip, the old Milwaukee-San Diego road trip. But the Milwaukee series will be tough, especially since they're battling with the Cubs for the division out there. The Padres seem to be going in the opposite direction, but they have the talent to really give it to the Phils. So much needed day off today, though. Rest those arms in the bullpen, and hopefully they come out ready to go this weekend out in Milwaukee. Want more Phils coverage? Check out the guys over at 2008 Phils. It's the world's I'm having trouble speaking this morning. I think I'm just so fired up for football. But 2008 Phils is the world's biggest Phillies email newsletter. They're offering for a limited time 75% off a subscription to This Day in Philly Sports History listeners. Check out the link in the description for your exclusive access to that. Get you access to everything they have on their site. The 2008 Phillies World Series Championship shirt. 2008 Phils will follow your Twitter. I do recommend you follow him. It's a good follow. As well as access to memorabilia, autographs, tickets, all kinds of cool stuff. And the content is good too. All for $2 a month, $20 for the year. Check that link out in the description for your exclusive This Day in Philly Sports History listener 75% off subscription to 2008 Phils. The hits just kept on coming for Phillies teams yesterday as the Union lost as well, 3-1. And there are good losses, and then there are just not good losses. This was quantified as a not good loss for the Union. dropped them a little bit in the standings. Toronto was one of the worst teams in the league, but they're still right there in the midst of a playoff berth in the playoff race. So they're back at home against the New York Red Bulls on Sunday. But again, not a good loss for the Union. Eagles update. Still don't have a punter officially on the roster. However, they did make some signings for the practice squads. Britt Covey came back. Devon Allen came back. Greg Ward came back. And they did sign Aaron Sipsis to the practice squad. So it's just a matter now of whether they can find somebody better. We talked about the punt god on the poll question yesterday. So I don't know. Howie just doing Howie things. But I trust him. I think he's earned the benefit of the doubt to make the right move there. But practice squad is rounding out. And again, it means probably Britt Covey is going to be called up to return punts, depending on where injuries go, unless they're going to go with Zacchaeus. I don't know. But we still have a little more than a week to go. So we have time. But that is your practice squad. Nobody else really stuck out as a big name or anything. Sixers news. No update on the James Harden front, but two big things. And maybe I was not clear yesterday. I got caught up in just the bizarreness of it. People are asking, literally, I've seen a few different media outlets say, should the Sixers trade for Ben Simmons? And just let me tell you, the answer is no. No. And maybe I was just unclear. Like I said, I got caught up in the bizarreness of it. But in no world, bizarre or real, should the Sixers trade for Ben Simmons. Great. We've seen these videos. Don't fall for it. Every offseason, we saw him shooting in the gym. Just because he's like, I feel good, and is posting those videos. Stop. We know how this ends. Stop. The other story was, and I actually feel bad for him. Nick Nurse threw out the first pitch at the Phillies game yesterday, and seems like a likable guy. He did a Craig Kimbrell impersonation. Maybe he was the jinx for Kimbrell. I don't know. But I feel like, is there anybody in Philly sports in a worse position than Nick Nurse? And I talked to you earlier at the beginning of the show about wanting to kind of increase some of the interaction. Let me know. Shoot me a text. Leave a comment. If you're listening on Spotify, vote in the poll or answer the question in the Q&A. I just want to know, is there a person, I don't think in Philly sports right now, that's in a worse position than Nick Nurse, but has there ever been somebody in a worse position? Like, it's just, he's a dead man walking. Like, the only person close I could think of would be Brett Brown, who went into it knowing that he was going to have G League players on his team. So let me know what you think about that. We'd have some Flyers news today. The national broadcast schedule was released. The Flyers, believe it or not, will be on national TV 12 times next year. They're going to be terrible. They're going to be terrible. But I've been telling you to jump on the bandwagon now, before it's cool, before it's chic, before everybody else is doing it. Jump on the Flyers bandwagon now. In 3 years, you're going to be the trendsetter. And you want to start it, go to phillygoat.com, get your Flyer shirt now. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. Don't want to buy just Flyer shirt? That's fine. They have other stuff too. The Kelly Green stuff is amazing. So go check it out. Back to school shopping. Get some stickers for your kids, water bottles, whatever. Your back of your car window, your office. It doesn't matter. They have it. And I'm telling you, get in on the Flyers now. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off. Bryce Harper talked about Chuck from Mount Airy. They, of course, Philly Goat has Chuck from Mount Airy t-shirts. So go get your Chuck from Mount Airy t-shirt along with your Flyers. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery, 10% off. Bada boom, bada bing. Everybody's happy. All right, today we're going to go back to 1997. And on this date, August 31st, 1997, The Eagles opened the season. Yes, they opened the season in August. It was like somehow with a calendar and scheduling quirk. And it was the only time that I could find in NFL history, at least in Eagles history, that they started in August. But they traveled up to the Meadowlands and started the season 0-1, losing to the Giants 31-17. They got down early 24-3 with Ty Detmer at quarterback. Not coy for you youngins out there, but his older brother Ty, who actually, I believe, won the Heisman Trophy at BYU. But Ray Rhodes quickly gave him the hook after halftime, brought in Rodney Peete. Rodney Peete made it and brought the Eagles back. It was 24-17, had them driving in to tie the game up, and then threw a 95-yard pick six to rookie Sam Garnes. And then the quarterback controversy was in full effect. Unfortunately for the Eagles, it didn't matter who was quarterback. They were just not a good team. They actually, Ty Detmer, Rodney Peete, and Bobby Hoying all started games that year. Hoying ended the season as the starter. They went 6-9-1. Leading to a 3-13 season in 1998, and thus ending the Ray Rhodes era in Philly, which brought us our own Big Red and one of the golden eras of Eagles football. But on this day, it was the Eagles starting the season up in New York in August, losing 31-17 to the New York Football Giants. They just kind of set the tone for that just terrible, terrible season. They were just good enough to give us hope, but just like Lucy with the football and Charlie Brown, they pulled us away at the end. All right. 31 questions in 31 days. Today is day 31, and I saved the biggest question for last. I've alluded to it all throughout the month, but the question is, Jalen Hurts, can he actually be better this year than he was last year? And by now, you should know what my answer is. I can't see why he can't be. I mean, the dude has the work ethic. I've mentioned that whole Mamba mentality, has that killer instinct like Kobe and Mike, and I can't see how he's not going to be better. I think because the offense has the potential to be way better than they were last year. And it comes down to his health. And I think Hurts is good with being careful. He plays smart. I think he has the right mindset. I think you're going to see him take an exponential step up. Believe it or not, like he was in the MVP conversation, and there's a lot of people who are like, oh, well, he only had blah, blah, blah amount of yards, and he only did this. And I think he hears that and uses it as motivation. I see him going for 4,000 yards this year. I see him maybe running not as much, but being more effective as a runner. But yeah, I mean, the question is, and ultimately it comes down to if he can stay healthy. If he stays healthy, I mean, I think he's the MVP. I don't know who. And again, we talked about the Super Bowl hangover. We talked about all of the extra things that people have been talking about and why the Eagles aren't. And Jalen Hurts is the reason why the Eagles will. So let me know what you think about that as well. On this day back in 1997, the Eagles lost to the Giants to open the season 31-17 up in the Meadowlands. Nick Nurse, is there a worse position right now in Philadelphia than Nick Nurse? Phils have the day off, looking to get back into action. Like I mentioned, I have a lot of things cooking in the background, so stay tuned for that. Best way to do it is like and subscribe this podcast as well as Back to the Future. That's Back to the Future with a PH. Check out my friends at 2008 Phils as well as Philly Goat. My Fly t-shirt is on the way. As soon as I get it, you will see it. I'll show it off to you and tell you how awesome it is. But you can go to the website yourself before then. Use that promo code and order it for yourself. It's supposed to be a halfway decent day here in the Philadelphia area. Go have yourselves a Thursday. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History. I'm Jim Montgomery. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.